Good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us here this evening. My name is Kenneth Edwards. I'm the manager for leadership and organizing. We are so excited to have you join us for CEO's first advocacy convening. Part of CEO's vision is here at CEO is that, in addition to reentry employment, CEO policy and organizing team work in each of CEO's communities to advance criminal justice reform, to reform the laws, regulations, and discriminatory institutions that harm justice-involved people. The Center for Employment Opportunities, CEOs, is the nation's largest reentry employment provider, servicing over 8,000 people every year in 32 cities and 12 states. Today's agenda is simple. We are going to start off by introducing CEO 3 policy priorities for 2023. Then we'll be highlighting just a few of our amazing advocates who will share their experience working on important campaigns across the country. I have one housekeeping that I would like to ask you. Please use the chat if you have any questions for our speakers. We will be responding to those throughout the convening. Without further ado, please let me introduce Alyssa, who will be sharing our 2023 policy priorities. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken, and welcome everyone. My name is Alyssa Bradley. I'm a senior policy associate here at CEO. Really excited to share out what we're prioritizing this year and to hear from our advocates later in the call. So just to provide some context on how our 3 policy priorities for the year came to be, here at CEO, we believe every person impacted by incarceration should have the opportunity to achieve economic and social mobility aligned with their goals. So for this, government must 1, invest in employment-focused reentry quality jobs and training programs. 2, invest resources in the people and communities who have been most affected by incarceration, disproportionately communities of color. And 3, reform the laws, regulations, and discriminatory practices that keep people from success in the workforce. So this year, we're focused on 3 advocacy priorities: increasing access to quality jobs, food security during reentry, and support for direct cash assistance. So to jump into our first priority, quality jobs, we here at CEO know that a job can be a powerful tool in preventing a return to incarceration. Achieving our vision of economic mobility requires government investment and incentives to create more high-quality jobs for individuals who are coming home from incarceration. And quality jobs are essential to a healthy economy, a strong community, and thriving families. This matters for CEO participants and directly impacted people in general, because these investments and incentives would provide access to advanced training, higher skill job pathways such as unionized jobs that offer critical support, and established career pathways and access to economic mobility. So we're advocating for government investment for justice impacted people in transitional jobs, pre-apprenticeships, and apprenticeships that provide pathways to higher wage earning careers. And we're going to do that by launching a job quality policy committee that consists of CEO participants and alumni to advocate for government entities to invest not only in quality jobs, but for trainings towards them as well. We're engaging potential partners, particularly unions. We're elevating issues to stakeholders. So a recent example is a building worker power panel that CEO was a part of, hosted by Labor 79 Union, that included New York City Council members. So we're getting in those conversations and rooms with the right stakeholders to speak to this priority. We're continuing to push for the end of collateral consequences through legislation such as Clean Slate, which will automatically clear an individual's conviction record once they become eligible. Lastly, we're really thinking about, with our state and local partners, how we can leverage federal dollars towards advanced career pathways. So to close out, I wanted to provide a solid example of how CEO has worked towards this, and that's our CDL pathway, which is for CEO participants who are committed to pursuing a career in commercial driving. CEO is able to provide extensive supportive services before, during, and after a participant's 4 to 12-week training program. Currently, there's 23 individuals in the program, with 37 people who have obtained their CDL so far. Definitely happy to share more details on this if anyone's interested in more information. But in the interest of time, I'd like to pass it over to my colleague, Quiana Brifu, to share out the next priority.
Thank you so much, Alyssa, and good evening, everyone. My name is Quiana Brifu, and I'm the Federal Policy Associate here at CEO. So as CEO, we believe that every person returning home from incarceration should have immediate access to tools that support their transition and promote public safety, health, fairness, and access to opportunities during reentry. SNAP benefits in particular provide food security for individuals that are released from prison, since most times they don't have access to an income. SNAP employment and training is also a national workforce program that provides paid training for people that receive SNAP benefits through organizations like CEO. So this year, participant advocates have led CEO in identifying why SNAP is so important for individuals during reentry and what improvements they would like to see. We've had 6 participants that have related their stories with food security during employment training and blogs, social media reels, and op-eds so that policymakers can read their story as they consider changes to benefits. We've had 66 participants who have talked directly to their federal lawmakers about their expertise and changes that they would like to see. Next year, Congress will make changes to SNAP and SNAP employment and training when they pass the program in what is called the Farm Bill in Congress. CEO participants will engage in advocacy for better food security, which will include participants being able to keep their benefits as they engage in paid job training so that individuals no longer lose access to SNAP because they're earning a training wage. Participants shouldn't have to worry about losing benefits while they're focused on pursuing their career, the career of their choice. Another focal point is expanding access to SNAP employment and training during reentry and ending the national ban on benefits for individuals who have past drug convictions. So as we move forward with the federal advocacy, as CEO, we formed policy committees, which consists of CEO alumni participants and active participants. And the goal of said committee is to allow for individuals with lived experience to raise their concerns to members of Congress through convenings, participant letters, sign-ons, and storytelling. And if anyone has any further question regarding this, please feel free to reach out. For the sake of time, I'll pass it to my colleague, Joe. Thank you.
Thank you, Quiana. Hi, everyone. My name is Joe Mendoza. I'm the project manager for the Returning Citizen Stimulus. I will first start off with giving you a brief overview of the Returning Citizen Stimulus. In 2020, as a response to the pandemic, CEO distributed the largest cash transfer to returning folks, which was $24 million to over 10,000 returning citizens. We weren't able to do this without the help of our partners, which was 32 organizations that we partnered up to distribute, again, the largest cash transfer to returning folks. CEO believes that this shouldn't be only a response to a pandemic, and this should be part of a reentry process to better make our system lesser flawed than what it already is. So with that being said, what we've been doing in order to advocate for this type of change is back in earlier of this year, we started a cash assistance participant advocacy, which you will meet a lot of folks today who've graduated from this PAC. And we focused specifically on cash assistance as a part of the reentry process. Fast forward to today, we have formed a strong coalition with our partners in which we engage in monthly conversations on how it is that we can make cash assistance a part of the reentry. This coalition has strong advocates who meet monthly to discuss and execute a plan to advance reentry cash assistance to better support returning individuals across the country. Some of the states that are involved are Florida, Colorado, California, and New York City, and pushing policy to advance as much as possible. For the sake of time, I will be passing it over to Simone Price. But before we close out today, you'll meet a lot of our reentry cash assistance advocates who will discuss the work that we've been doing for the organizing team. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joe. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I just wanted to give a quick overview of our organizing team. My name is Simone Price. I serve with Ken and with Joe on the organizing team as our director. Just a quick overview, CEO's team supports a lot of local organizations in the work that we do by engaging in campaign work. And a lot of times what we're trying to do is to fight policies that we believe are going to harm justice-involved people, or support policies that we think are going to improve the lives of formerly incarcerated people. So we do this in one of two ways. One of those things that we try to do is always train and empower directly impacted people. We want to see formerly incarcerated people be leaders in these spaces. We offer a 6-week introductory training program known as PAC, the Participant Advocate Council. We have a lot of PAC alumni here on our call today, and we've been able to train over 130 formerly incarcerated people in this awesome program. And our PAC members are very hands-on in our advocacy work. We also have a more intensive and advanced leadership development program known as our advocacy fellowships, where people who have a particular interest in policy work and a passion for criminal legal reform are helping to represent us in these external spaces. And I wanted to do a quick summary of that so we transition to our next topic and you have a better understanding of why it is we're presenting to you our PAC members. So we're so proud of all of the work that our PAC alumni have done and that our advocacy fellows are still doing, but to share just a little bit more about the campaigns that they've been working on and to give you a preview about some really exciting work, I'm going to bring back Ken, our leadership and organizing manager, to take us into our campaign advocacy.
Thank you, Simone. As I mentioned in the beginning, CEO service thousands of individuals each year that are on parole or probation supervision. Here in New York, the last few years, CEOs stood up in support of a parole reform that was taking place here in New York called the Less is More Act. This act addressed, technical parole violations that individuals were being reincarcerated for here in the state of New York. Our organization and our PAC members, would, for the most part, rally and organize, speak to elected officials on why individuals should change the laws here in New York around parole reform. And last year, in June of 2021, the act was actually passed. And then in September of that year, Governor Hochul signed the Less is More Act into law. In March of this year, that law was actually implemented. Since March 1st of this year, over 13,000 people have been released off of parole because of individuals that stood up and elevated their voices around what was right for them. This year, we had the privilege of working with a noted videographer and a Second Chance Media Fellow, Michael Pagan, to help elevate Less is More. Take a look and stick around for the discussion after the video.
The PTSD or the stressors of having been up there around those officers and then coming home, being on parole, and just knowing that I'm already looked at a certain way, right? Like my record is in front of them. So that's all that they see, right? So that's all that they know for the most part, right? So it's like, I didn't know what to expect, but I just knew I had to just stay out the way for the most part. Being in the system for 3.5, close to 4 years and trying to figure out what freedom really, would look like again and starting my life over again. And then knowing I had 5 years on the back of that. Parole affects me and interferes with me maintaining a relationship with my son because I'm not able to travel, or I have to go through certain parameters or regulations to be able to travel. My little man is about to be 10 next month. By the grace of God, when I came home, I was able to reconnect with him for the first time since he was 3. I believe the less is more bill, as far as reentry goes and it changing, I believe it's going to have a major impact on reentry. So I came home with 5 years parole. So that cuts my time to 2.5 years right now. I'm due to get off in a couple of months just because of this. So that's huge. Now I don't have to worry about that system being on my back, being state property. It basically makes like the world my oyster pad again. That's the second chance. That's the second chance right there. Then the fact that not being able to be violated for minuscule things, right? Like a dirty urine or being late for curfew. That's huge. Me thinking or believing I had a second chance was difficult for me to grasp at one point.
Thank you, Simone, for sharing the video, and thank you, everyone, for taking your time to watch it. Please, join me in welcoming Dion Johnson, our New York PAC alumni and videographer who filmed this video interview, Dion, Michael Pagan. Dion, I'll start with you. First of all, thank you. Thank you for giving CEO your time around elevating, less is more, and sharing your story. I know we're big on elevating the voices and helping individuals share stories that directly impact them and their lives. My question to you, Dion, is what was the experience like completing PAC cohort, and then sharing your story on film?
Well, good evening to everyone. And first and foremost, I'd like to thank everyone that's a part of CEO, the entire organization. Kenneth, thank you very much. Michael, thank you all very much for this opportunity. The experience of being able to complete the PAC cohort was life-changing, first off. I had never done anything remotely close to justice reform. I had it in my mind, I had opportunity. I had motivational goals for the most part, but completing the PAC cohort was great because there weren't a lot of things prior to CEO that I had completed, so that was a major blessing. Being able to play a part in the treatment not jail bill, earlier part of this year was major. I was only able to be a part of that because of the PAC cohort. In addition to that, it's changed my life in so many different ways because I've also started my own movement, bailing out Black moms in New York, but that's all as a result of CEO and all as a result of the PAC cohort. Being able to share my story and the impact that the Less is More bill had done for me was tremendous as well, because it helped me to find my voice. You have stories, you have traumatic events or whatever that you've been through, but you don't have the forum or the stage to share them on. So being able to share my story on the impact of the Less is More bill, what was tremendous. That's all as a result of CEO, being connected to CEO, the PAC cohort, and everyone involved with that as well. So I'm greatly appreciative of every opportunity that's been afforded to me through CEO and the PAC cohort. I'm tremendously grateful, to everyone that's been with me along the journey as well. Michael, Kenneth, and everyone else that's involved. And thank you once again for this opportunity.
Dion, thank you for definitely sharing that. I remember when you first came to PAC, and you and I met. You know, you were with your job developer at that time, and you know, I believe I had sent something to you prior, and then finally we got a chance to meet in person and sit down in my office and talk about PAC, and you came, and you have been so instrumental, you know, in what we have been doing, you know, and I just want to highlight that anytime I asked you to come and present at a forum, you were there to elevate your voice, but also be the voice for other individuals. So definitely thank you for that. And thank you again for trusting us with your story, and trusting in Michael, you know. And the next question that I'm going to ask is actually for Michael. Michael, can you talk about the importance of how we tell stories about directly impacted individuals? And I know that in the beginning, when we first met, you talked about wanting to meet individuals first. You know, you didn't want to come off as, you know, someone that just is there to collect their stories and share it, but get a little more personal with individuals to make them feel comfortable. Can you tell me about what that was like?
Yeah, I think, hello everybody. I'm Michael. You know, I'm an NYU student. I'm studying visual sociology, narrative, and documentary filmmaking. And a lot of what I'm studying has informed how I do this work in a particular way. I didn't want to approach this project like a, you know, a wham bam, thank you ma'am kind of thing. I wanted to connect with whoever I was putting in front of the camera in a real deep way to tell, well, to get a sense of what their story actually is. Our stories are multi-layered, and more often than not, when you just put someone in a camera, sometimes they could just be superficial, and you need to spend time with a person. You're a guest in their life, you're a guest in their world, and you need to treat them, you need to have a certain level of care. You need to demonstrate a certain level of care for their story, for their lived experience. And you only do that by really trying to get a sense of who they are and what it's like to be them, what it's like to make the choices they make, what it's like to live through the experiences they survive. And Dion is not just a survivor, he's a success. You know, he took advantage of everything that he's been through to build who he is now, to find a way to move forward. And I was only able to kind of get a sense of that experience, get a sense of his success by, you know, investing time to get to know who he is as a person, as a man, as a father. And I think secondly, the second part to that, my second answer to that is also me being someone that's formerly incarcerated, that's trying to be at the forefront of doing this storytelling work. I believe that we are more than just somebody who made a bad decision, you know, and we don't want to be known for our greatest failure, right? And I wanted to kind of bring out who Dion was outside of somebody that made a bad choice. And I kind of discovered that Dion was also a father. Dion was also a leader. Dion was also, you know, somebody that wrote poetry. And I was only able to kind of just really like get to that level by just spending time with him and not just saying, hey, I just want to know your story so I can tell it and just move on. And that was only made possible because I demonstrated that care, that compassion, you know, for who he is and what he was bringing, you know, to the project.
Thank you, Michael, for sharing that. And just like with Dion, thank you for taking time to get to know him, you know, to be able to capture his story, you know, in that 3 minutes. That was very powerful. You hit a lot of key notes, you know, points in the video around, you know, like you said, fatherhood, coming home, the need to be able to move on with your life and be successful. You were able to capture that. And I appreciate, you know, you doing a portion in the office, but then going even more personal and capturing Dion in his elements, which is his home, you know, where he's most comfortable. That really brings out that human side. And we really, as an organization, appreciate that. You know, I think we can all agree that the message you're both elevated in this video is so powerful. And I want to thank you both for joining us. And hopefully,
if I may add just one quick
absolutely.
point, you know, it also goes both ways, right? Most video projects are one-dimensional, meaning that it's all about the person who's in front of the camera. And I think I also wanted to try to, you know, be vulnerable as well and allow Dion into my world, know my story, know who I am, know my struggles, and know what I've been through. And I think that kind of opened up this type of connection that really allow the story to take shape. So that was a key. That's key to this kind of work.
Thank you for sharing that. And that's something that Impact, we really pride ourselves on, with building that type of relationship with our PAC members. And you were able to build that relationship with Dion by being transparent, you know, to say, hey, yes, you know, here is my history also, you know, and not just stand behind the camera, you know, but to share your personal story with him. So I thank you both for joining us, and thank you for the video. We will be sharing that video, and hopefully the recognition that it deserves, it gets. So I thank you all for joining us. Now it is my privilege to welcome more leaders to the floor. Please welcome PAC alumni Lawrence Posey, New York PAC, and William Lewis, Michigan PAC, as well as Advocacy Fellows Rayvon Gibbs from Michigan, Cody Melendez from California, and Stacy Jackson from New York. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for all your accomplishments here at CEO and all of your support to CEO and those that we provide a service to. So I'm going to start my first question with you, Will. What would you share about your experience in PAC that was memorable?
First off, nice to meet everybody. Nice to see everybody who met before. But honestly, my time with the PAC was really one of the most significant times of my life. You know what I mean? And the one experience that stuck out to most of me was the Free Her conference that I attended with you, with Simone, with Rayvon, and a few other PAC members. You know, as you know, it was primarily hosted to address issues affecting incarcerated, formerly incarcerated women and girls, but it was really so much more than that. And the thing that most moved me about it was to be able to see all the things Rayvon was teaching us in the class, in the PAC cohort, as far as storytelling and advocacy, activism, organizing and base building, to see all of that right there at that conference. You know, it wasn't just academic, it was real, you know, and especially the energy and the power of us, of justice impacted persons, using our stories to affect change. You know, that really impacted me. To actually meet men and women who had used their stories to get themselves and get others out of prison, or people who were using their stories to shut prisons down or keep prisons from being built and changing laws. You know, it was amazing, you know, and for me, it was intoxicating and addictive as well. So, you know, I definitely say my time at the PAC was amazing, and I'm really grateful to CEO for allowing me to experience all of those things and do all of the things that I've been able to do through being a part of the Participant Advocacy Council. That said, I definitely intend to stay in this space, and, you know, it's really just about finding where I can be most effective, you know, and do the most.
Thank you. And thank you for, you know, shouting out everybody, and, you know, yeah, no, Rayvon is here, you know, love you. Lawrence, I have the same question for you. What would you share about your experience in PAC that was, you know, memorable?
First of all, I like to thank CEO for all the wonderful things that it done for me, just becoming part of the program in its entirety. PAC, you know, Mike and Dion did a wonderful job. I thought that was very empowering. For me, it was learning the structure, right? Learning the structure of how to become an advocate, how to, you know, the process of it, you know, going to the floor and experiencing it, learning it. it was amazing because I thought I knew some things, but if it wasn't for you guys being able to, CEO Works and the PAC program to be able to help me truly see the steps to take to that level, to be able to become a full advocate. And I had to go to do Advocacy Day in April in Albany to advocate with Community Not Cages, and to talk about the eliminating the mandatory sentence, Second Look Act, and Earn Good Time Act. And it was just amazing meeting with the assembly members and being able to tell them, talk to them about, what's important and why these laws and mass incarceration it needs to be dealt with. So it was a great experience, and I continue to talk to Kenneth about anytime he need me, I'm there. Anytime CEO needs me for anything, I'm there. And I will love to continue to do work with you guys and become a part of anything y'all need me for.
Thank you, Lawrence. And stick around because the next question is for you also. You have continued to advocate after PAC and doing great things. Some of those great things we spoke about earlier. Can you share with everyone why you're passionate about continuing to use your voice to advocate?
Yeah, so it's not just about telling my story, it's about helping others tell their story now, right? It's, and I'm a big advocate for reentry, but I'm also a big advocate for before incarceration. I'm working with the youth right now at the YMCA in Yonkers, and I talk to them about, understanding the process of how their voice heard. How many times do we hear young men and women talking about the system doesn't care about us? Well, I'm trying to, bring to the forefront that they do care. You just need to learn how they care, right? So I'm actually working right now on launching my Urban Dreamers, which is a youth education program. And because of PAC, I have a social justice awareness part of the program that I'm launching. And it is to teach the process. It is to teach them how their voice can be heard, understanding what it is to be a constituent, understanding what it means to lobby and how bills get passed. It's very important that they know that. And I wouldn't know how to bring these to the kids if it wasn't for, that they kind of like, oh, do you want to be a part of this? I'm like, yes, I want to be a part of this PAC program because I need to know. I was impacted by, I was wrong for, I went through judicial and prosecutorial misconduct myself. So, I wanted to make sure that it doesn't happen to somebody else, or if I can help it. So I just been, telling my story. Kenny been pointing me in the right direction to talk to people about my impact. I did a podcast for Treatment Not Jail. So yeah, anything I can do and keep moving on. And I just give all the praise to CEO because they opened that door for me.
Thank you, and much success for your future as an advocate and mentor, educator. Will, come on back up, Will. I'm going to ask you the same question. You have continued to advocate after PAC and are doing great things. Love to hear more about what you are doing. And can you share with everyone why you're so passionate about continuing to be a voice to advocate?
Well, I'll deal with the second part first. The main reason, like you said, like many of us having been through the system myself, and see not just my own story, but how unjust it has been to so many. Time after time, we all know, I've met person after person who've basically been ran over by the system. So, one of the things we used to always say while I was incarcerated was that, we need people like us out there fighting for us. So I definitely want to be one of those people. And through this organization, through the PAC, I've been given that opportunity. So, still working with Rayvon and with with you guys, with Simone and you guys, to get my voice out there in terms of fighting for different things here in Michigan for our vital documents, immediate access to vital documents upon release. Further through, again, work opportunities and all that, but also one of the things me and Conrad Cowell, he's a former PAC member himself, and been through as a participant, all that. we were trying to organize. Now we're just at the beginning stages of talking about getting together lawyers and legal-minded individuals to fight for us as a discriminated group, and building that argument for why justice impacted persons should be considered in the Fair Housing Act, in the EEOC, as a discriminated group or a protected group.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you, Lawrence and Will, our PAC alumni. And again, same thing, Wayne, much success to you with your endeavors along with Conrad. So the next set of questions are for our advocacy fellows, Rayvon, Gotti, and Stacy. So Rayvon, I ask you to answer this question first. What was your experience, helping to mold new leaders by facilitating PAC as an advocacy fellow?
Man, where did that question come from? Well, I would say the one thing that PAC really helped me with is finding my voice. And so once I was able to find my voice and kind of come out of my shell, so to speak, I was able to be better as a facilitator. And so when I see Will and Talea and Alethea and former PAC members and PAC alumni, and they still doing the work, and they passionate about the work that they do, and they love the work, it really makes me feel good, and I'm glad that I was able to facilitate PAC and bring some awareness about some of the issues that we face, the barriers that we face, and it's been a great experience. And I thank you and Conrad and Barbara Beard and Simone Young for allowing me to have this opportunity to facilitate.
Thank you, Rayvon. Gotti, the same question. What was your experience like helping to mold new leaders by facilitating PAC as an advocacy fellow?
Hey, everybody, I'm Karina, an advocacy fellow at CEO. So my experience with helping mold leaders while running PAC cohorts was amazing. Realizing that each and every single participant had the ability to grasp new ideas, not only for the justice reform, but also for the people that we left behind. Just knowing that they had that one voice in there and giving them that opportunity to speak out in that platform where they will be heard. And I know that that's all most of our participants want. So, thank you.
Thank you. Stacy, same question.
Sure. For me, it was a very, very big thing, because not only were they learning, I was in the process of learning. But one of the things that really blew my mind in this whole process was seeing people catch fire, especially at rallies, coming to the rallies, and some may be reserved, and then when they're chanting, and they really see how a lot of these laws and things were really impact, say the closed Rikers Island rallies, seeing people really chant because they see in these 18 body bags laid out on the ground that's representing the 18 people that was lost on Rikers Island, and then being asked with everybody else, how many people here is Rikers Island survivors, and me having to raise my hand because I know I'm a Rikers Island survivor. I grew up on Rikers Island, you know what I mean? So just seeing the PAC just catch fire was like a real big thing for me, and I wouldn't trade this experience for nothing else in the world, and I'm just hoping that I'm able to see some more fires get caught,
Thank you, Stacy. So I have one more question for each of you before we move on. What issues were the most meaningful to you to work on during your fellowship? I know y'all have worked on a number of campaigns, y'all have gone to a number of rallies, et cetera. But what was the most meaningful to you and why? Rayvon, I'll let you go first.
Well, the one campaign that really moved me, Ken, was the Get Out to Vote campaign. It started with the opportunity to go to a rally with PAC members where Congressman Bowman was the keynote speaker. After that, probably canvassing with PAC members where we passed out flyers and encouraged hundreds to go out and vote, hundreds of people to go out and vote. Also holding the opportunity was by having the opportunity to phone bank, send emails, text to hundreds of participants and CEO staff was a great experience. Collectively, we have easily reached over 700 people in just a few short weeks. On top of all that, on November 8th, after 32 years of incarceration, I voted for the very first time in my life. And so I want to thank you all, CEO staff and PAC alumni, for helping us achieve this great work. Thank you.
Congratulations. Congratulations. I know the feeling. Kadi, I know you kind of choked up, but I'm going to ask you to go second and tell me what was the most meaningful, work that you've done during your fellowship and why.
Thank you, Ken. So the most meaningful issues to me were two issues. We had the SB 300, which is a felony murder bill, and the gate money bill. The main reason the SB 300 felony murder bill was meaningful to me was because not only did I sit behind bars for a crime that I had no involvement, not whatsoever, I was not even around. And I sat there until I took a effed up deal to come home, only because I didn't want to sit that on my record. And I left so many people behind also fighting a felony murder. And also the gate money bill was beyond important, because if it wasn't for that RCS payment that I got from CO when I came home, I wouldn't have been able to begin the pathway to success that I needed. I would have been right back where I began many years ago. And that's the main reason it's so important to me.
Thank you. Stacy, lean on up, brother. Question, same for you. What was most meaningful to you during your fellowship and why?
First, I would like to say, like Ray Vaughn, I can ID for the very first time in my life. On November 8th, I voted. Very first time. That was a very, very big deal for me. I can't even really explain to you how it made me feel, because, either I was in prison or I was on parole so many years of my life. You know what I mean? And on parole, you couldn't vote. In prison, it's obvious you couldn't vote. So I'm just glad that, I was able to do that, for the first time. And, I'm still kind of buzzing behind that. As far as the question is concerned, I think I love the campaigns. Yeah, I mean, it's the Close Reconciling campaign, the less is more, even the fair chance housing, because I really didn't fully grasp how New York State in particular, especially New York City, how the discriminatory practices of how you can have a felony today and how it can impact you 10 years, 15 years down the line in regards to housing. And it's like, I have to give it up for CEO. I have to give it up for organizing. I have to give it up for PAC. I have to give it up for this whole process, because a lot of these things I didn't know. And whatever I thought advocacy was before I got into this process, I realized I didn't know nothing, and so I'm grateful to all the great minds that have helped me get to this point in my learning. Ken, Pam, Simone, Barbara, my fellow advocacy fellows, Kari for helping me numerous times, Ray Vaughn for just, the way that he facilitated groups. I just picked up on a lot of the things that I saw him do, and I just try to imitate him. So it's just many, many things, and I'm just grateful, to be a part of the process.
Thank you. And I want to thank all of y'all for y'all leadership. And I hope you have been inspired by the discussion so far, but even more to come. I want to thank y'all as fellows, entrusting us to help you develop and be who you are today, and knowing that you pass it on to someone else. And speaking of passing it on to someone else, now I will pass it on to my policy and organizing associate, Barbara Bear, to spotlight our next advocates.
Awesome. Thank you, Ken. And thank you all the speakers. It makes me so happy and proud and empowers to be part of this with you all. Earlier, you heard from my colleague, Joseph Mendoza, about CEO's fight for reentry cash assistance. I'm excited to introduce you to two of our reentry cash assistance advocates that I have had the great honor to work closely with on many advocacy platforms, who are continuing to use their voices to fight for these policies. First, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the campaign, we're going to share a quick video to bring you up to speed on the importance of cash assistance.
I have so many dreams and so many goals and so much, that I want in my life. I was released last year. Some of the challenges were, obtaining a job. Like, oh my God, what am I going to do now? I don't have no job. When the stipend was offered, it changed a lot of lives. I know it changed mine. I was able to pay my bills, pay my portion of the rent. I got a car. I do get food stamps, but I was also able to buy extra food. I was able to do quite a bit with that money. It made me feel like, okay, now I'm back in control of what I need to do for my household, for myself, for my family. I've been having these business plans that I've been working on since I was in prison. I want a janitorial business. I want a hair shop. I want all kind of stuff, It takes effort. And, I can't give up on myself. And I'm not going to give up on myself. I'm going to keep on fighting the fight.
Awesome. Thank you, Simone. Now I'm going to introduce to you all Cindy Ortega and Jose Duran. Thank you guys for joining us. So Cindy, I'm going to start with you. Why do you advocate for reentry cash assistance? What inspires you today to continue doing this work?
Hi, you guys. I'm Cindy. I'm out here from LA at CEO. Primarily, my passion is for doing this is just spreading the word and I'm sorry, I'm so nervous. Pretty much, yeah, spreading the word and letting everybody know like how really beneficial this really is and how truly helpful it really is to start off. And the benefit it is to transition from coming from home with nothing to something.
Thank you, Cindy. Jose, what about you? Why do you still advocate for reentry cash assistance?
I do this because like I grew up in the system, so like being in the system for so long, like I always I was thankful that there's people out there fighting for us, like all you guys mentioned right now. Everybody mentioned, or everybody here, they do something to help somebody else, so I know how it feels to help those in need in prison, because I was one of those persons that I look up to people like you guys. So like coming home, like I don't forget about those people that I left behind, and I don't forget how that feels, So I continue doing this because I'm setting an example for the system as well, I'm letting the system know that there's people that people change, and that there are many people like me, that are motivated to continue and do good for themselves and change their lives and all this stuff. So that's one of the main reasons, I'm really passionate for that, and I just don't forget where I came from, because since 14 years old, I've been in the system to 31. I just got out last year. I'm finally off parole, just a year of parole, and I just don't want to. I don't want to forget about the life that I lived, and it keeps me positive too. It keeps me positive and the right track as well.
That's great. And what would you like to see your government do for individuals returning home?
So for my personal experience, when I got out, all my family, they're in Mexico, and I only have a few people that help me out here. So I was blessed enough to have a friend that I grew up with that got his stuff together too, and it works for the union. So coming home, he hooked me up in the union. He got me in the union for iron workers. So I had a job coming home automatically, and then, but I would like the government, to get involved more, like to establish more resources out here and like help nonprofit organizations, to establish housing, more help for more people, and because people get lost in the system, they lose track of time. They've been there so long, they lose support, resources out here, and they come up to nothing. So I would like the government to focus on that, to see what they can do to help those people come with a peaceful mind, and like that lady in that video, so it can help them achieve their goals, like the reentry money, the cash assistance, like that helped me get on my feet as I came. I had a job, but no money, and then thankful I had my cousin, but then things happened. I had to move from that house, and then now CEO, people that worked in CEO, they helped me. They got me contacts to get a house and stuff like that. So yeah, things like that. It's more resources, more resources. Yeah.
I agree. What about you, Cindy? What's your perspective?
I feel like they should be able to give us a lot of more moral support, not just, it's there, go for it. More guidance, more, like I said, more believing in us that we're really here to make the change, and not just fall back on the people that really don't take advantage for the second opportunity, but hear more out the people that really have changed their lives around. And, at the end of the day, everybody deserves the benefit of the doubt to really make that turnaround. And, if the government would really believe in us, we could get further out in life. And
Thank you,
that
Cindy.
comes with, with everything, financial support, housing support, every single support that they can give.
Thank you, Cindy. That was really powerful. And thank you and Jose for joining us today. As we wrap up today's convening, I'm going to turn it back to our Director of Organizing, Simone.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining us at CEO's first ever advocacy convening. We're really excited that we got to have so many of our directly impacted leaders come and share with you why this has been powerful to them, and also that they're all continuing to advocate and do such awesome things. I also want to give a special shout out to all of the PAC alums who are on the call. Again, over 130 folks that we've been able to train across so many different states, and we really want you to stay engaged with us. We want to give you a reason to keep excited and keep energized about the work. So please stay in the loop. If you are on this call for the first time and you were not aware that CEO has done so much work, please do stay in the loop. We want to engage you. Our policy and organizing teams are doing some really great work in 2023. We want to remove barriers to public benefits. We want to fight for quality jobs that provide actual economic mobility, and we want cash assistance in people's hands as they come home. So if you want to know how you can support those efforts, please email our team. You can email us at organizing@ceoworks.org. We will find a way to keep you involved and to get you involved in some of the work we're doing. Or if you just want to stay in the loop in general, you just kind of want to know what's going on, especially if it's in your state, you can go to the link on our website, go to the Join Us page. I just dropped it in the chat. Go to the Join Us page at ceoworks.org, and then you'll be signed up for all kinds of email updates, and we'll be able to keep you in the loop there. So without any further ado, I want to thank you all again for joining us. We are going to close today's convening, and please be safe, and God bless. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone.
For letting me share my story.
Good night.
Take care.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Good night, everybody.